For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Shotgun Spratling for instant analysis of USC's 81-72 loss to Arizona. This snaps a 7-game winning streak for the Trojans. Now, Shotgun, we've seen tight games with USC and its opponents. They've come out of the half, made adjustments, and ultimately have won close games. That didn't happen tonight. What was the difference?
And play enough defense. I mean, that is pretty simple there. And when you give up 81 points, USC has made their bones this season by being able to play defense and then make a couple shots. And they didn't really do either one of those tonight. Evan Mobley was terrific again, and especially in the second half. Tajidi had 17 points as well, but no one else really stepped up to make some shots. And defensively, they gave up 81 points. They allowed Arizona to shoot 43%. And Arizona, give them credit. They were able to knock down some timely threes. They opened the second half with 4 consecutive three-pointers knocked down. So some of their guys stepped up on the bench, and that's something that USC didn't get. I mean, Arizona led USC in bench scoring 32-15. That was a big deal because the guys coming off the bench, were knocking down some shots, along with Brown, who had a double-double off the bench for them, the former 5-star that transferred from Nevada. He had a really big game against USC coming off the bench. Their bigs did really well down in the post, and that was a big part of it is the physicality of the game. Arizona beat up USC and was physical with them. The refs, called it pretty loose, let them play, and that really benefited Arizona in this one, I think. And USC, it took them a little while to adjust to that.
USC did come out more physical in the second half, specifically Evan Mobley. What can USC be if he is more consistent when he is physical?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big key, and that's the big thing people have been asking about Evan Mobley for 3 or 4 years now, is like, can he get a little bit more physical? Can we see that aggressiveness from him all the time? Because then he goes from, you go from one of the best players in the country to the best player in the country, or you go from being an elite player to like, hey, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Because that's the thing that the scouts have been looking for. And it's the question, how do you get that out of him consistently? Because we see the spurts of it. And this, I don't know if he was challenged at the half. I tried to ask him, what was said, and he said, we focused on defense, and I knew I had to be more aggressive. Andy Enfield said, they just told him the stats. Tubelis had a double-double in the first half. He had 10 points and 12 rebounds. And Brown, coming off the bench, had, I think, 11 points in the first half, 5-8. So 2 of their bigs were already in double figures. So that was the big thing that they pointed out to the big man. And Evan Mobley, they went to him, and immediately he went to work. He scored the first 8 points in the second half for USC and was able to change the game and get USC back in it after they were trailing at the half, I think 37-31. Got them back in it. They were tied. But again, it came back to Arizona's, wings being able to knock down some threes, and USC's guys didn't necessarily do that.
Yeah, USC had an opportunity to make critical shots. Specifically, there was one point where in one possession, they could have scored 6 points, but they just couldn't come away with it. Free throws continued to be a problem in this game, Shotgun.
Yeah, definitely. They had a chance. There was a foul on Isaiah Mobley as he was shooting, so he was going to go to the free throw line. There was also a technical foul called on the play, so USC was going to get 2 extra free throws and the ball back. And you think, hey, this looks good. USC, they were down by 8 at the time. They're going to cut the lead potentially in half at the free throw line and get the ball back. Maybe this can be a turning point in the game. Instead, I think it was a big turning point the opposite way, because Isaiah Mobley hits both his free throws. He's the worst free throw shooter on the team. He's under 50%. Knocks down on both. You feel confident about it. Andy Enfield sends up Noah Bauman to shoot the technical free throws. One of their best shooters in practice, has struggled this season to get it going consistently in games. He misses both free throws. I think it really hurt them, but they got the possession back. So hey, maybe you can make the most of it here with the ball coming back to USC. Can you get a bucket here to cut that lead in half? They get fouled on the inbound, and Max Agbampolo hits 1 of 2. So they finish getting 3 points out of the possession, which is solid. But they went 3 of 6 on the line there, and that was the big thing. They continued to struggle at the free throw line. It's not just Isaiah Mobley this game; he hit both of his. They went 13 of 22. There were, that's 59%. So you left 9 points out there. You lost by 9 points. The difference, Arizona, they made I think it was 14 of their last 15 in the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. They've made 83% of their shots. So that's a huge difference there in the game. And, that's something that's been a worry wart for USC throughout this season. They've done well kind of closing games out, shooting free throws, but this game, the free throw line really hurt them. There was an opportunity right there at that point to get right back in the game, be down by 2 points if you make all your free throws. Instead, you only hit half of them. And then there was another big opportunity later in the game. They had a 3-point shot by Tajidi that would have changed the game to a 5-point game. That immediately they're back down by double digits, in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game where they had a chance. Hey, if they hit one shot, you feel like you're right back in it with three or 4 minutes to go. Instead, they're not able to knock that down. He went 3 of 9 from the outside. The other guards, no one shot better than 50% on deep. Isaiah Mobley hit the only one that he had. They finished 7 of 20, which is not bad at 35%, but they made 2 late ones in the last minute that, kind of pushed that up a little bit. I think they were like 22% before that. So, their shooting woes and shooting kind of inconsistency from the outside and from the free throw line came back to bite them in this game. It's the big concern I've had about this team the last couple of weeks because when they get hot, they can be the best team in the country. But when they get cold, who can they beat? That's another big question for them. So Evan Mobley was great in the second half. He had 19 of his 23 points in that second half. He was super aggressive like we talked about, but they need somebody to step up and hit some shots. And tonight, no one really did that. Tajidi ended up with 17 points, but no one else was in double figures. So they need someone else to step up and be at a good percentage. And that was kind of what Andy Enfield talked about after the game is it doesn't have to be anyone in particular every game, but someone needs to shoot well to help them out. And that didn't happen tonight.
In that sense, Shotgun, sometimes you learn more from a loss than you do from winning, and USC snapped its 7-game winning streak. What do you think they took away from this game or the learning lessons that they got from this game?
I've had coaches tell me in the past, I would much rather learn from a win than a loss. But you often see that a loss late in February or early in March before the NCAA tournament can really help a team out. So maybe this is a blessing in disguise. I asked that of Andy Enfield, learning from this physical game. You're going to get into the NCAA tournament. Hey, maybe you go up against a Big East team, or you go up against an ACC team, and they want to pound you down low. How do you react to that? USC, it took them until the second half to react to it. And they were much better in the second half. But the first half, Arizona basically got every 50-50 ball, every kind of tip rebound, every loose ball. It seemed like they were getting every single one of those. They just were tougher than USC. They were more physical. USC basically got punked in this game. And Andy Enfield's own actions kind of, tell you that's what happened, because at one point a ball gets tipped and Drew Peterson has a chance to grab it on a rebound, and instead Tubelis rips it away from him. And Andy Enfield was steaming at this point late in the first half, and he just turns to the bench and he's yelling, soft, soft, because that's what the team was in the first half. So can you learn from that? I asked Tajidi. He said, yes, that's something they definitely got to learn from it. He said there were spurts where they weren't as tough as they could be. This is a type of game that tells you that Arizona would be an NCAA tournament team if they weren't self-imposing the postseason ban. So this is what you got to learn from it. We played an NCAA tournament team, and they beat us because they were more physical, because we weren't physical for 40 minutes. So the team has to say, okay, I got to learn from that. Evan Mobley says, I got to learn from that. And you take that in when you're playing, big time games down the stretch here. And they've got to turn around and play in 48 hours. You're going to play Oregon, no time off, no time to prepare for Oregon really after the Pac-12 switches that, 4 days before the game. And the coaching staff is not happy about it from what I've been told from a couple sources. So, not happy with the fact that they're playing, and Oregon's supposed to play UCLA twice, and that still hasn't happened. Maybe they try to do something like the Big West has done and play them back to back. The Big West is just, one weekend they're playing both the games in a back-to-back setting. So maybe you will see that last week leading up to USC, UCLA, that Oregon and UCLA play twice at a neutral site or, at one of the spots. I don't know. But it's kind of strange how they're playing USC and Oregon. Stanford's not playing. Oregon's got they got 3 other games they got to make up, 2 against UCLA and 1 against Arizona, I believe. So kind of weird that they would change a game that's already scheduled for that one. And the USC coaching staff not happy about the fact that they don't really have a bunch of time to prepare for a team like Oregon, when they got 2 other games this week. So Stanford, you've already played them. You feel like you're a little bit prepared. Oregon, not necessarily. So that's going to be a tough game for USC. Same thing for Oregon. They've got to make that switch as well. But they have won 4 in a row coming into Saturday, and those wins are, Colorado and on the road against Arizona State and Arizona. So that's some pretty good company there. So they're playing pretty good right now. They're a team that could catch up to USC in the Pac-12 standings with a big win on Monday, with the fact that they have some games to make up and they can make up some ground while USC is not playing. USC, with their loss, they fall back into a potential tie with UCLA, depending on UCLA's outcome of tonight's game as well. So, this game doesn't help Arizona since they're not going to try to go to the NCAA tournament. It doesn't really hurt USC's tournament resume a lot, but it hurts them in the Pac-12 standings because that gives everyone else a chance to take a step forward. So, USC, if they want to get that Pac-12 championship, I think they've got to learn a lot from this game, and it's a great opportunity for that to happen.
We're on the same wavelength, Shotgun, because you answered my 2 next questions. So in that sense, what are you expecting going forward, and what are you expecting for this USC team to close out the season?
I mean, it's the same thing that we've kind of seen from this team. This is the first time that they've really been, they're 0-3 now when they've been out rebounded. But this is the first time they've really been out physicaled, just being beat up down low by the bigs. So I think this is a learning moment for the Mobleys, both of the Mobley brothers, but also the team in general that, hey, someone else needs to step up. They need to play better defense and be able to play that 40 minutes of physical basketball as well. So I think that's really big for them to take away from this. We'll see if they do. I mean, this could be a turning point to the season in a positive or negative way. So I'm curious to see how they react on Monday. That might tell us a lot about this team and, the bona fides that they have going into the NCAA tournament, whether they're a team that we really think can make a run or not, depending on what they kind of do when they turn around on Monday.
Makes sense. Alrighty, that's going to wrap it up for Instant Analysis for Shotgun Spratling. I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.